I'm just waiting to make sure that we have transitioned over. Awesomeness. Okay, so today we are going to have another conversation surrounding the truth about homelessness. Let me just go ahead and give forewarning from the gate that it seems like Wi-Fi internet is acting glitchy and sometimey today. So if things get a little sluggish or if the conversation gets disrupted and we have to reboot, if there is a disconnect, we'll be right back. We'll just come right back on once we reset. For those of you that tap in today. So my name is Tony McNeil. I'm a community organizer with Faith in the Valley. I work in several issue areas, and one of the key issue areas that is impacting the San Joaquin County and the Central Valley as a whole is housing and homelessness. So we have been hosting or facilitating a series of conversations surrounding the truth about homelessness, and where we are drawing just some parallels and showing the intersectionality and the impact of housing that leads to homelessness, housing insecurity, the instability of it that leads to homelessness, displacement as a whole. And so today we are going to be having a conversation with some folks around housing and homelessness or displacement as it pertains to home ownership. Folks that have had to migrate and leave one place to another because they just can't afford it anymore. So before we dive into conversation, I want to introduce everyone that is present. So I'm going to start off with Zani, if you could introduce yourself, and then let's just popcorn it around.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Well, good morning, Facebook family. My name is Zani Thompson. I'm a community organizer in Faith in the Valley, working in San Joaquin alongside Tony, and I'll be co-facilitating this conversation today. I'm going to popcorn it to Calvin.
Good morning. I'm Calvin. I recently moved out to the Valley from the Bay Area, and I'm going to be talking about that process and how difficult it was.
Let's see. Let's go to Pastor Jack.
Okay, well, my name is Pastor Jack. I am senior pastor at Upper Room Ministries, as well as board member for Faith in the Valley. And I'm happy to be a part of the conversation on this topic, as it has recently directly impacted my wife and I. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, so I'll be next. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm Gloria Evans. I'm a realtist, which means that I am a part of the National Association of Realtors, Real Estate Brokers, which is a over 100-year-old Black organization that fights for the democracy in the Black African American community. And I am a real estate agent here in the San Joaquin County.
So I appreciate you guys taking some time out today in order just to lift up your stories and just be vulnerable, to be transparent in regard to things that have personally impacted you and your families. And so migration, when we say migration or folks migrating, Gloria, like, can you give us a idea? What do we mean when we say migrate, and you hear that term as a realtor?
Well, it means what one of the gentlemen said. They were coming from one area to another for affordability or to live a better life. That's really what it means. It's to get to a place that should be better than where you came from. These days, it's changed in real estate because of the affordability aspect of housing. People are trying to migrate to more affordable areas. And in California, those areas seem to be diminishing more and more by the day, by the month.
Okay. So I know that some years back, we were experiencing in the San Joaquin County a huge migration where people were coming from the Bay Area What do you call that area, like in the San Jose area? What do they call that? The Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
Where people were like transitioning or moving from those places. And we had students. Yeah, yeah. People were moving from those areas that were literally renting garages, sleeping in cars, all different kind of stuff. And so they ended up moving down here, purchasing homes. Calvin, what was your experience? So where are you from, first of all? Let's start there. Where are you from? Where are you originally from?
San Leandro. I lived in San Leandro since I was born to, I think, 18 years old. Then I moved to Hayward and lived there for a while. But yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, East Bay, my entire life. And you can just see the housing prices rise.
Where are you now?
I'm in Lodi, California now.
So how much is it to?
What was that?
What was the rent like down there? So if you were to rent a place in the Bay Area, okay, see, I see you laughing. So tell me about what's the average rent down there?
Average, it's impossible. I know it's like a family member of mine is renting a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, tiny place for around $2,400 a month in Oakland. Yeah, no parking, no nothing, no amenities. Yeah, it's astronomical.
Is that $2,400 a month for what?
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. We were lucky enough to know someone down there, and we were able to have an affordable rent. But other people if you're trying to apply for housing down there, it's impossible, especially renting.
Okay, so I know that we kind of get a little Twitter-pated about you, Bay Area and East Bay folks coming down here, taking up all the property. However, then there's some, you're being displaced.
Yeah, I try to come here graciously and say, listen, I know I'm from the Bay Area, but we had no choice. I'm not here, I'm not Silicon Valley. I can't work from home and throw cash on top of the listing price and do that. Like, we had no choice but to come out here, and we love it. It's a much different life, but it was, you throw both hands up and you just say, I'm so sorry. Because I know that us coming here means that the people here have to leave. That's just how these things are going, right? And it's awful.
Calvin, could you detail what that process was like moving
So
from?
what was that?
Yeah. So the process, we realized that the Bay Area was not a possibility, and we had known that for a while, but we had a somewhat stable situation. But once we kind of made the decision, like, hey, we see the trend in housing prices, and we see that we're going to get priced out of anywhere remotely close to the Bay Area. We had to jump on it, and it was a 3-month process. Luckily, I was able to leave my job, and we came out here maybe 4 times a week. We were looking at maybe 8 houses a day to make the trips worth it. And we were throwing offers on top of offers. And I said earlier, if you're not removing the appraisal contingency, your offer might not be getting looked at. And we were starting to get really desperate. And just somehow, luckily, we got a house in Lodi. We just kind of said, here we go. Let's offer this price. This is all we got. and we were able to get something. But getting your hands on something was something that was very important to us, and we felt like we weren't going to be able to do that.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit. There's a word that you use that may not be a normal word for everybody, and that's appraisal contingency.
Yeah. So if a house is listed at $320,000, right? $320,000. So anyone can come in and say, I'm going to offer $600,000 on this house, right? That means nothing because an appraiser comes in and values the house. So the appraiser values the house at 320. The appraiser values it at 330. There's your appraisal value. That's the price, right? Now $600,000 is meaningless. But what's happening is people are removing that appraisal contingency, and on that $320,000 house, they're offering $365. The appraisal comes in at $330. Now they bring $35,000 on top in cash at close of escrow. So, if you don't have that cash just readily available for you, you're not removing appraisal contingencies. That's just not something that's possible. You already have to put down all this money for a down payment. So this is what's happening. People that have the funds, people that can do that are coming in and they're just offering crazy prices, and it's impossible to compete if you're just a working class person.
Gloria, can you come off mute? Because it looks like you were trying to say something. And then I have a question too that I wanted to ask. Are those private owners that are coming in doing that? Or are these companies and businesses, that are able to offer these astronomical, prices? Who's buying up this inventory?
Is that for me or Calvin? Is that for me?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Gloria, that's for you.
Yeah. Well, as far as contingencies, a lot of people were waiving contingencies because they wanted the house so bad. So they didn't care if they were paying, premium price for something. That's the main reason why we had the bubble in the first time in San Joaquin County, because the Bay Area was coming in paying premium dollars for properties that were not worth what they were paying for. So that's what caused our housing crisis the first time. And that's happening all over again. And the COVID, the coronavirus has driven a lot of this activity because people can stay home now and work home. So they want bigger homes. I've shown homes to friends who have come together to buy a bigger house because they can work at home. A lot of the investors, yes, they are some of the drivers in the market because they're trying to rent back, but that has slowed down because of the rental crisis that we have going on here. And also, it depends on where you want to live. There is a studio for $1,800, $2,100 off of Murata in that new rental development here in Stockton. So, the Bay Area may be paying that for a garage, but we're catching up to them. We have to pay $2,200 for a studio here in Stockton if you want to live in a quality area. So there's so many different variables in this housing market, and they say that it may not be as bad as 2008, but if it doesn't slow down, it will be. Especially if people are paying $1 million for a home just because they want it so bad and it's only worth $825,000. That's happening.
So, Pastor Jack, what she is saying, I seen you nodding your head, because now you have a real time situation that you and your family find yourself in. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it started about a month ago, and we got notice from our property manager that the owner was placing a house on the market. And being that I have a real estate background, I knew what that meant, especially in this market, that it could sell just like that with so many offers being offered on the inventory that's available and the kind of money that people are spending now. So my wife and I did some checking around to see if we could find something comparable to this home. And the rents for a home in a neighborhood that I would be willing to stay in was $2,500 to $3,000 to rent. And we both agreed that was not something we were willing to do. And as Gloria said, we're willing to move if it means maintaining our lifestyle or having a potentially better lifestyle. So we actually took a trip and spent 9 days in Texas. And you would be surprised at the amount of house you can buy for under $300,000 in Texas and the amount of land you'll get. And we decided that it was time to say goodbye to California. Like Calvin was saying, I was once one of those people that moved from the Bay Area and came out and purchased several homes here in the Central Valley. But now the Central Valley is even overpriced and to the place where I'm not even. And we make a decent living, my wife and I. And it's just not something that I could see myself doing, going into that much debt, paying that much over market value for a property that's going to bust at some point, and I'll be upside down. So it's a really bad situation. And I really feel for individuals who are not financially in a place to afford being able to live in a city that they've grown up in, that they have rooted themselves in, and now are being displaced.
Pastor Jack, earlier we heard Calvin talk about how for a one bedroom with no parking or anything like that in Oakland is $2,200. Gloria talked about how out here in Stockton there's a studio that's going for $1,800. In that price range, what can you get in Texas for that price range?
Okay, so my wife and I, we actually have signed a short-term lease at a luxury apartment in Alamo Heights, San Antonio, which is one of the nicer areas in San Antonio, Texas. And the list of amenities is ridiculous. From walking our dog, there's an on-site dog park, there's a resort-sized swimming pool, there's fire pits, and all of this is paid for with your rent. And we're going to be paying $1,780, and it's a 2-and-2. Stainless steel appliances, wood grain, wood flooring, granite countertops, backsplash. I'm talking about, it's resort style living, and it's $1,700. And we're filling out the application thinking, okay, well, if it's anything like California, 3 times the rent. And no, $500 deposit. And you can't find that in California. You just can't. And Calvin, oh my God, I so understand what you're saying. We went out there and I'm being introduced to certain people, and I was introduced to one of the councilwomen. And when she asked where I was from, and I said California, her and her husband looked at us and said, look, you can say you're from Ucamunga, but don't tell anybody else you're from California.
Oh my God.
They literally, they have a saying there, don't California our Texas. And I feel bad. I feel bad because I'm a part of a problem that I'm a victim of in my own state. Now I'm part of it, starting that process in another state. But if we're outpriced, we got to go somewhere. It's really bad. So yeah, to answer your question, that was a long answer.
And I do want to lift up the stigma. So I want to ask you guys about that, because there's a stigma that is associated with homelessness. There is a stigma that is associated with those that have housing insecurity. Is there a stigma that now is attached to you and your family when it comes to migrating or being driven out of your home to another location because you can't afford it anymore? So Calvin, did you experience? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Calvin, did you experience that stigma too?
Not personally, but you just kind of know, if you know the situation and what's happening and the trends that are happening, you know what you're doing. Intrapersonally, you know what your actions are causing. So and yeah, you definitely take a deep breath before you say, yeah, I just moved here from the Bay Area, and you hope that there's no reaction to it, right?
Hmm. Gloria, I seen
And
that you were trying to say something. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I think about how we met with one of the planning commissioners a few months ago here in San Joaquin County. And she used some terms that I think that scares people off when they talk about affordable housing, low income housing, and they're trying to use the word now workforce housing, because communities and neighborhoods and people who are in these more likable neighborhoods, they don't like those terms, affordable housing and low income, because they think it brings problems. So therefore the housing market is kind of hard, because the low income housing and the affordable housing, no one wants to build those type properties. The builders don't feel like there's money in that. It's from the government, they can't really price it the way they want to. So they're coming up with this new term, workforce housing. And then we need to have a livable wage to afford these houses or these homes, especially here in California. But I
Hmm.
think that then the other problem is that if Calvin is coming from Oakland or the Bay Area to afford housing here, but was your wage a livable wage in the Bay Area? It doesn't seem like it, because you had to move here. So you have all of these variables that's causing these problems, from the building, the contractors, to the government, to the livable wages. It's something that we really have to look at, and we may just have to come together as a people, and try and build upon our own, come together, have our own investment groups, build our own apartments, build our own housing. And I know that happened in Oklahoma, where they tried to do this and they burnt them down. The 100-year anniversary just came about. But
Hmm.
we can't let fear cause us to stop coming together and helping each other, because I think that's what it's going to boil down to. And it's like you said, you're moving to Texas and they're saying, don't tell you from California, because you're making the prices go up by moving there because you can afford it. And then you have people in Texas that probably can't
Hmm.
afford to live in Texas. So you just have this vicious circle.
Man. Okay, this is like really heavy, because it brings, like, for me as a community organizer that is very action oriented and solution driven, right? I try to approach everything with at least possibilities of solution. What are solutions? What are the possibilities of solution? What can we do? We've got 5,000 people in San Joaquin County who are displaced and homeless. We've got families sleeping in cars because they can't afford a home. They can't compete. They can't contend. They don't make enough money. We've got people like Calvin, and Calvin represents so many folks that have been, pushed out because of the rising rents and things in the Bay Area, and stuff migrating here. We've got people like Pastor Jack, who've been here for years, that's now leaving and going into other states. But it's not, there's still no solution. It feels like things are very rooted in greed.
That's the
Everything
word.
seems to be for profit. So go ahead, Pastor Jack.
No, I said that's the word, greed. And like,
What'd you
well,
say, Pastor Jack?
it's about greed. It's about greed and profits, and not our shared humanity. I have my organize the church shirt on. You guys can't see it, but I'm big on that, because, like Gloria said, if we would come together and build our own, buy our own, then we could serve our own. And we have some of, I won't name names, but we have some large ministries here who could take the initiative of coming together and not having to say, I'm the head of this. And there's plenty of buildings and abandoned apartments and dwelling places that we could purchase, refurbish, and then offer them at affordable rates. Because these are our people, the people that we say we love and serve and minister to, who are being affected by this housing crisis. And we're not doing anything but keep inviting them to come to church and bring their tithe. And okay, I won't. Okay. But anyway, you guys understand what I'm saying? We need to do better with stewarding the resources, whether they be small or big. We can do better together. You see, we can accomplish a lot more together. And I've seen it happen when people are willing to come together and not worry about who's getting the credit. And until the church is behaving better than the world, we can't be an example. Okay. I'm one of those, yes, Jesus is the answer person. Sorry. Okay. We got to do better.
Wow. Okay. That's just a mic drop for real. And so what do you think would be some of the solutions? I mean, what do you think? You said that your parents were realtors. Um, so what do you have? What do you think would be some solutions to this coming from the Bay Area to here, Calvin?
I have to follow that answer from Pastor Jack. Honestly, I'm stumped. I mean, you want people to have, Gloria mentioned it before, a living wage. People can't afford to pay the rent of their area, no matter where they are in the country. I mean, federal minimum wage is $7.25. It hasn't been raised in years, right? It does not keep up with the increase in prices of everything else. They say things will inflate if we raise the minimum wage. Things inflate anyways. The minimum wage doesn't, right? People don't make enough money to live where they're at, no matter where they're at. $15 is not enough in the Bay Area. $7.25 is not enough in Oklahoma or wherever that's the minimum wage. People need more money. People need more resources. And we're seeing during the pandemic, we're seeing the expansion of our separation between classes, right?
Yeah.
People are getting richer and the lower classes are not. And that's putting it nicely. They're just not. So give people the resources to live is one of the most basic solutions, I think.
Wow. Pastor Jack, working for Faith in the Valley, and now you can come off of mute. You're part of the board of directors. And one of the things that I realize is that our executive director and our board, and I say this extremely humble, has really, really, really worked very diligently to ensure that the staff is compensated enough in order to be able to afford to live. Now, Faith in the Valley not only make sure that we make enough, right, Zani, to be able to just afford to live, but the things that we fight for as organizers, our board of directors fight for to ensure that the staff, that it's reflected, with the staff when it comes to insurance and medical coverage and different things like that. I've never worked for an organization that put that much thought and intentionality into the livelihood of their employees. So thinking on those lines, Gloria, like we're talking a huge disconnect. I have not seen that happen in any other place that I've worked for, and I've worked for a lot of places. So the humanity is what I'm concerned about here. The integrity and the humanity of our people, because what's going to happen? You've got more people that don't have and fewer people that do have. So where do you guys see this going? If it stays in the vein that it's at, Gloria, Calvin, any of you, Zani, where do you see this going?
Well, he talked about, we can't wait, although we need the livable wages. And we know that that's going to take Congress and everybody else to make it happen. We can't wait on them. We have to come together. I can bring my $8 with your $8, and we can buy a plot of land. I mean, if you can buy a plot of land for $50,000 and sit on it for a year, you'll probably be able to sell it for $150,000. You know, we have to think outside the box. We have to come together. We can buy a duplex and let the half of the pay for the mortgage on all of it and live in the other half. We can come together, buy, like Pastor said, an apartment complex, and the people in our churches can rent those out. Why are we taking tithes and offerings and letting people go home or go homeless? You know, we have to rethink this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact,
do you guys see this being put into place anywhere else? Pastor, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Pastor Jack. Go ahead.
I was just going to use what Gloria said as a springboard. One of the things that while we were in Texas, we looked at was land, because we have a number of disciples who are going to come to Texas with us to plant our new ministry there. So rather than having everyone come down and struggle, we said, well, why don't we buy a piece of land and build? You know, you see these corporations do it. They buy a building and all of their corporate officers live there, have an apartment there. Why are we thinking like this? We got to think outside the box. You know, I just wrote, a statement for Faith in the Valley that's going to be published. And one of the things I say, I quote Malcolm X. He says, "We're not outnumbered. We're out organized." We need to organize. We need to stop having church and be the church. We need to be proof of what we're talking about. And so Gloria hit the nail on the head. We need to do for ourselves. We need to start being an example of what fellowship and koinonia and community looks like, where we bring our little to the table so that there's no need among us. Everyone is willing to part with their high profit margin and say, okay, I'll take a little less if it means you'll have a little more. But, you know, of course, you know, we're going to wait for government to do everything for us when that should not be the case.
And we need to expedite that process before the nation becomes a nation of renters. Like, that's the ultimate goal. And that's where this is trending, is no longer will people be able to own their own land. That's what we're looking at, with corporations buying up land and houses and neighborhoods at a time. You know, so come together and expedite that process.
My God, I never ever considered that, a nation of renters and not being able to own your own land. Are there other countries that that you see things like this taking place in that you all know of?
No, I think we're spearheading that process.
Where people don't. Y'all, this is really, really. So, okay, before I go off on that, countries. Let me ask that.
In terms, yeah.
Do you guys feel like go ahead? I'm sorry, Calvin. It's because it's sluggish on my side that I'm disrupting when you guys speak, and I apologize for that. What were you saying, Calvin?
That was my fault. I just wanted to clarify. Developed countries, you know, there are a lot of countries that are struggling like that. But yes.
Do you think that our elected officials know what to do? And there was silence and a hush fell over the room. Let me ask the question again. You think they're trying to figure it out?
I think they're trying. Some of them.
I think that, you know, when you look at the political arena, they are there to keep this capitalization going. They are not there to end anything that's going to cause the rich from staying rich. You know, this is all a game. America was built on capitalization, and that's what it's going to stay. And until we get more smarter and playing the game another way, we're going to always be in this vicious circle. And that's just my experience from from observing politicians, they're in it to just keep the vicious circle going. To me, that's how I feel.
Exactly. When you ask, do politicians know what to do? Of course they do. They know how to keep their system going. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, you're just the left and right wing of a dying bird. The deal is we need to do for ourselves. We need to be equipping ourselves and empowering ourselves and stop holding our hands out to the government and expecting the government to fix things. The government is doing what it was built and created to do, and that's prosper those that are at the top.
Lord have mercy. So there was something that you said, Pastor Jack, that I want to go back to. You said we need to organize. And I wanted to go back to that because what's taking place right now to me reeks of the same corrupt and evil process of the prison industrial complex, where you have the GEO and you have ALEC and you have this organization where everyone is tied into and everyone that buys into this entity through ALEC actually is investors in the prison industrial complex, and then they reap the benefit of the slave wages within the prison industrial complex, and they organize to do it. They have organizers that come up with laws and policies that actually continue to exploit and imprison individuals to go back into the system. So the GEO and ALEC actually make laws, create laws to keep the prisons full, and then have contracts that say that the prison has to be at 90% capacity in order for them. That's a well-oiled, organized machine that media is a part of and exploits, and everyone is a part of this well-organized machine. At this point now, I feel like we're dealing with the same systemic issue and plots when it comes to homelessness and housing, and greed and wealth. So, and I don't know that, our local officials even know this, on a local level. So when we say organize, what do we do to disrupt it? How do we organize, y'all, to disrupt it? Gloria, how do we organize to disrupt it? Right now, you've got the renters and the owners, and they're at odds with each other. The mom and pop homeowners and the tenants are at odds with each other when it comes to policies. So how do we get together? How do we begin to work together?
Well, it's just like educating on anything else. We have to meet the people where they are and give them the education, the financial literacy, whatever it is that they need to know, the knowledge to empower them so they can understand that we need to work together. And it's like, what do you call that? Grassroots. You have to start there. That's the strongest organization plan to have. Just like we organize for voting, we need to organize for housing. And we have to meet the people where they are, have meetings. We have to get everybody on board. And even not everybody, we have to get many people, I should say, on board in order to be able to go out and buy and do what we need to do on our own. We need that buy-in.
You guys, do the homeowners care that the people can't afford the rent? No, for real. I'm trying to ask questions I don't know. So Gloria, you're in these spaces. Do they care? Calvin, do they care?
The question that I would have for that, for the most part, they don't care because they say they have bills to pay. They need to get paid because they have bills to pay. Yeah, that's understandable. But they don't even want to work with you this money that came from the federal government is sitting at the states waiting to pay out this back rent. And they say it's because they don't have enough
Right.
people to make it happen. Oh, come on. They're going to sit on that money and use it for something else if we don't say something and make them do the right thing. We need a watchdog, or maybe they already have one, but we need a watchdog organization to make sure that these monies are used the way they are supposed to be used and call into account these people, because the federal government, they're just sending this money out and no one's watching to what they're doing. And it's just sitting there. And the landlords can apply for it. Why they are refusing to, I don't know, because if I can't afford your rent, who's going to be the next person that can? It's like, they're not thinking. You're trying to get rid of me, so who's going to take my place? No one can afford it. So what are you talking about? It's like, I don't get it.
And that, I would say, it's the
and when wait, somebody.
I was just going to say, and that I would say it's the power imbalance.
Say again, Zani?
I was going to say it's the power imbalance between tenants and landlords. And the reason why the landlords don't care is because they have all the power. In a way I feel like, to get them to come together and understand like where tenants are coming from is to give tenants some of that power. Like right now, landlords have all the power with evictions. They have the access to the lawyers. They have the resources that they need to make sure that if they want to get rid of a tenant, they can get rid of a tenant. The tenant most likely doesn't have any resources. And so I feel like in order for us to disrupt that and bring landlords and tenants together, we need to equal the playing field. We need to take some of that power away from the landlords and give it to the tenants. Or we need to give tenants their own power.
Okay. So now we're getting Gloria, what you're talking about is AB 832? The this COVID relief that is supposed to be applied for in the application process. And so I know that there seems to be bottleneck, right? And so the funds aren't seeming to be released. So are you guys aware of that? You are aware that there are funds that are there to help pay back rent, and that there seems to be tension because one, the narrative is that some of the owners are resistant and reluctant to even receive it. They just want the people out. That's the narrative, Gloria. Is that true? That is true?
Yes, that's why I was saying I don't understand their thinking. Who's going to take, if you kick me out, who's going to take my place? Who's going to be able to afford that rent? Everybody is pretty much in the same position. So it's just great. It's really, it's like you said, that their power, it's this narcissistic, I don't know, selfish business mind, that, and they probably know they'll probably be able to get that money in the back door anyway. If they kick me out, they're probably going to still get monies to catch up on my back pay. That's just how wicked the system is, So it's just really
wow.
scary. It's scary that we don't know what's really going on. We're just sitting there hoping that they give me the rent money and catch up. No, you got to fight for this.
Okay, and you guys, this is, that this is horrible and heartbreaking. Pastor Jack, did you know that there were funds available in order to help people catch up on their rent?
Yes, I'm aware of it. And again, if you can't get people to paddle their own boat, they don't deserve to go anywhere. These homeowners could get this money. Why they're not makes no sense to me. And as Gloria was saying, if you evict me today, that property is still going to sit vacant for another 30 to 60 days. You got to go in there. You got to clean it. You got to do all the necessary repairs. You got to advertise that property. Then you got to find a tenant that meets all of the criteria to move into the property. You're losing when all you have to do is go apply for these funds that are already available. Now, she said something else that's important. We just don't understand how evil this system is. That property owner at some point is going to get some relief, whether you're there or not. So they can afford perhaps to evict you, whether they're going to write that off as a loss or get some other government subsidy later or benefit later from having to take the loss due to COVID. If people just would think with their hearts and not with their pocketbooks, we'll be okay. Now, if you have a property owner who's not able to pay their mortgage right now, mortgage companies are putting that balance onto the end of their loan and floating that for them. So then why aren't they passing that benefit down to their tenant and saying, look, I'm getting relief, so I'm going to give you relief. And since the government is providing the funds, I'm going to get off my behind and I'm going to go apply for it so I can keep getting paid and you get to keep living here. But it's about profit. That's what it's about. Period. Dot final.
Zani, I know that you've been in a lot of the housing spaces as well. And so when it comes to the organizing, is there difficulty that tenants are having with applying for these funds? Do you know of any of the experiences that tenants are having when it comes to accessing the funds for their rent relief?
Yeah. Well, for one, like what Gloria was saying is the landlords aren't willing to work with them. They just want them gone in a lot of situations. And then there's also situations where there isn't really any follow-up and there's like they'll be let sometimes tenants will like be told like either you're approved or we need this from you, but then they won't hear anything else. And then it just kind of falls to the wayside. And so they don't know how exactly to go about accessing the funds from that point on. It's just kind of in this like standstill limbo and it doesn't move past that process. Yeah, like it says right there, the funds are not being distributed. There are a lot of tenants who have applied months ago, been approved, but don't have their funds. Right there. But
so there is no. Oh wow!
I was going to say also the biggest barrier really is for the ones who, like I'd say the ones who have applied and haven't received their funds. That's a little bit different from from tenants who wish to apply, but their landlords just won't cooperate with them or aren't willing to cooperate with them.
And so are there no ramifications for those that fall in that category? Let me stick to one question at a time. Gloria, do you know of any? Are there any ramifications for home property owners that just refuse to work with tenants that qualify for the funds?
I don't really work in the rental market, but we do keep up with what's going on. But I know that when I was on that call with you, didn't they have some type of an association that was giving legal advice? I forgot the name of that firm that was giving legal advice. Do you remember? I don't have my notes.
CRLA, California Rural Legal Assistance.
Okay, were they the ones? Companies like that should be able to go to bat for these tenants and talk with the landlords and let them know that they have some type of support. Because if the landlords don't feel or see any support from the tenants, they're going to play the game until it's played out. So we do need. I can get more information about that, but we do need to show that tenants have support and some backing.
Yes. I wish I could pronounce your name. And I so appreciate you in the chat. Is it Macarena? She or this individual that is sharing in the chat, it is That is true. So when you said that, Gloria, one of the things that I do want to lift up publicly, and it looks like what I'm going to need to do is pull in, I'm going to have to pull in some advocates in a space in order to uplift some of the details of this information. Yes, people can reach out to California Rural Legal Assistance and Fair Housing. Yes, they are greatly understaffed and under capacity. Just so that you guys know, look, Fair Housing hasn't had an increase in funds to increase their staff. So they've been working with 3 or 4 staff members for Zani, ever since pre-COVID. So they didn't have funds to even increase their staffing. We didn't get I can't even go there.
Not
We're
even
having to add
4 staff, 3.5.
3.5. So from 2018 all the way through, 3.5 staff, part-time, all of that. And so they're getting increased calls, increased all of that, but just didn't have, they're totally at capacity. And and we wouldn't even get some of these funds if these agencies didn't exist. CRLA has money to hire 5 attorneys since February, but has not increased staffing. So that's something that we'll look into as well, into determining the validity of that and whether or not whether they've received those funds and have hired or in the process of that. So I think that what we're going to do is we're going to research some information based on this call. And that is, Gloria, come back off of mute. We're going to need to research the details surrounding the funds. I would love to have a conversation with some of the homeowners in order to bring about balance, because I know that all homeowners just don't want people to be homeless. And there's this picture that is painted with that. And I just don't believe that we're just dealing with people that are just morally corrupt and evil. Gloria?
I would hope for the majority.
What did you want to say, sis?
Yeah, I was just going to say in the organizing, and I don't know how the federal government or the state government can use volunteers, but when we have a crisis like this, there should be another way to help these agencies get these funds out and not have the excuse of not having enough employees. This is an extraordinary time. So we have to take extraordinary measures. So I want to research. I need to find out how can they go about getting more help during this time, just for this project. Even if they can't hire people, I would go in and volunteer to push the paper or whatever they need to do. So I need to find out how that can happen, because they knew this was coming. So why wait and try and hire people when you can ask people to come help? I don't know.
So we're going to be wrapping up our conversation. And before I make an announcement of a town hall planning meeting, I just want to go around and give room for any final thoughts, and then I will ask us just one wrap up question. So just kind of popcorn it, final thoughts that you might have that you want to just raise up in this space. Calvin, start with you. And put you on the spot.
Yeah, final thoughts. First of all, thanks for welcoming me to the Valley. I'm sorry I had to move out here, but I'm not, though, because I like it very much. But I know with what we talked about today, yeah, it's definitely serious. It's at the forefront of the issues we need to be talking about. People are just losing their homes, and there's really nothing that they as an individual can do about it. So they need help, organizational help, anything. So, yeah.
Pastor Jack?
Yeah, I'll be quick. If I wanted to say anything, I would just ask that Faith in the Valley that we continue to organize within our faith communities, because that's where the power is. And if we can educate the people who are most directly being affected, then we'll see the results we want to see, get people involved in the process. So too many of us are not involved in the processes that affect us directly. And we can't pray this away. Okay, we can't fast this away. We got to put some work to our faith and get and be a part of the process.
Gloria?
Yes, I agree with Pastor Jack. Organizing in the faith-based ministries or communities, you know, there shouldn't be a church that does not have property and land that they can build on or have housing for their people. There's no excuse. We've been giving for decades. You know, we shouldn't have to be out here fighting on our own. So yes, that would be a good start.
And Zani?
I just want to thank you guys all for joining the conversation. Very fruitful conversation around these housing issues that, as we all know, aren't going away anytime soon. And for those of you guys that are watching, just want to encourage you guys all. We have a housing town hall that we're planning, and if you would like to be a part of it, a part of the background, and just have your thoughts applied to the planning, join the planning meeting on the 11th.
Yeah. So all of these conversations that we are having, they are going somewhere. One of the things that we are going to be doing is we're moving towards a town hall, a housing town hall. And that housing town hall is going to be a space where community members, congregation, clergy, faith leaders all come together. And we are going to, first we're planning it out. And then we're going to be meeting with our elected officials and inviting elected officials in that space in order to just kind of explain to us what is the plan. To break down, we have specific questions that we will be developing in these town hall planning sessions. We will have information in this town hall planning that is going to discuss some of the application process to the relief funds for tenants. There will be multiple things that will be lifted up in this space. But the biggest piece part is that we are in mid-October, we are inviting elected officials, key elected officials, to a town hall where we can ask specific questions and even make some of a list of demands and recommendations surrounding housing and housing insecurity and homelessness. Pastor Jack was very on point, and so was Gloria and everyone else. If we don't take responsibility for this as a community, it's not going to happen. We are looking to our elected officials to have answers to and solutions to problems that they may not even be close enough in proximity to be able to actually respond to. So I think that, we've got to do better when it comes to the grassroots boots on the ground organizing. So I really appreciate you guys coming in today. I will be dropping the Zoom link. Actually, I'll be dropping a flyer in the chat. I will have the flyer for the town hall planning meeting on our Faith in the Valley page. You can reach out to me at tony@faithinthevalley.org. If you are interested in just doing a deeper dive into the work that we're doing, I'm dropping that in the chat now. But at this point now, we just have to take ownership of doing this ourselves. We have to organize this ourselves. So I really appreciate you all coming in today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come at a moment's notice, especially you, Gloria, because I called you this morning. Thank you for sitting in spaces that represent the community and always being ready and willing to advocate on our behalf. Calvin, welcome to the San Joaquin County, man. Welcome to the San Joaquin County. If anybody give you any problem, we got your back, huh, Zani? We got you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let us
Welcome
know.
to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Pastor Jack. Yeah, man, I hate that you are moving. You have been one of, and I'm saying it openly and publicly, you have been here since I have been here, and you have helped shape my organizing. You help keep me in the moral compass, right, and regulated when it comes to faith-based organizing. And you always show up. You're just fully present always. I cannot tell you how much we are going to miss you. And I believe that God needs to send 5 clergy to fill your shoes.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I was telling Pastor Trina and Pastor Curtis how much I dreaded sending over my resignation letter from the board, being that I was moving to Texas, because I have been here since the beginning when Faith in the Valley organized. And just the camaraderie and the relationships that we've built is just amazing. And that it's really hard to say goodbye to that. But I'll be here, thank God for technology, I guess I'm a few clicks away. So anytime I'm needed, I'll be present as much as possible. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all. You have a wonderful weekend. You all, we will have our next the Truth About Housing conversation. We have one more that will be next week, Thursday, and then on the 21st of August, we will have some very special guests that will be coming in. We have 2 clinicians, a therapist, and a seasoned HUD representative that will be coming in to talk about the short and long-term effects and impact that housing and housing insecurity and homelessness has on our community. And so I really want you guys to lean into that. And I hope to see some of you at our virtual town hall planning session that is going to be taking place once again this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Via Zoom. So look for the flyer and look for the link in order to register for that planning session. Other than that, if everyone is on the thing, you guys just hang on for a second. I'm going to take us out of cyberspace, and to everybody that is out there watching, peace and blessings. You guys stay encouraged and stay above water if you can.